Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. So I just wanted to highlight this is, of course, week 3, and we're talking about the importance of the legal system for professionals, right? Healthcare professionals, and then also healthcare operational structure, roles, and responsibilities. So I wanted to spend a little bit of time talking about an organizational chart for a hospital, what it means, and for those of you that haven't worked in a hospital, there's a lot of different, I think, uniqueness that you might find in a healthcare setting that um, can be sometimes hard to describe if you haven't worked in it before. But I'm going to do my best as I've worked in the healthcare system my entire life, so I'm hopeful that this is going to be helpful for you. So let's look at this organizational chart really quick. And as an example, I tried to make it a little larger there so you can see it. 1 second. I don't know who this hospital is. I've not actually heard of it before, but I just found it off the internet. So majority of the time you have a hospital which starts at the top with the board, like the board, right? So I'm not sure if you can see this box right here, but the board here, let me see if I can draw. Here we go. The board is in charge of the hospital as a whole. Sometimes if it's a city-run hospital, the city appoints a board, or if it's a large organization, for example, like Providence, potentially a board is brought on through a process of hiring experts in the field to oversee, pretty much the structure of healthcare. So for that organization per se, the board is in charge of hiring the chief executive officer. So the chief executive officer always reports up to the board. So the board has a final say, of course, in the reviews, whether or not his contract or her contract is renewed, all that kind of stuff. So the CEO reports to the board. After that, the CEO oversees all the operations at the hospital. So that can span from finance to human resources to, of course, outpatient services, which is what I work in, clinical programs like nursing, chief of staff, which could be most of the time providers, right, and then development integration. So let's go through each one. So this is a large job, right? The hospital CEO usually has a lot of challenges that he has to overcome with it, not exception, right? Overseeing all these people. So finance, right? It's pretty obvious. What does finance do? Finance does the day in and day out needs on the financial side to keep the hospital running. So accounts payable, right? Accounts receivable, all those different things that align to keeping the hospital up and running from a financial perspective. So usually I have like a director of finance, a coordinator, an accountant, people like that that report up to the VP of finance. And most of the time this is the title. It could be VP, it could be director, it could be executive director. There's a lot of different ways in which healthcare organizations title. So human resources, as it might sound, is in charge of the disciplinary action or overseeing the personnel from the side of a regulatory standpoint for a hospital or healthcare organization. So you have labor relations sometimes under HR, you have occupational health, sometimes HR under HR, director of HR. Depending on how large the organization is, this could span from a different viewpoint too. Ambulatory care, you're going to talk about all the physician groups, so all your outpatient clinics. Um, Usually have a manager at each outpatient clinic that you report up to through the director, and the director usually reports up either through the chief operating officer or, in this sense, the VP would be considered the director, and that person would report to the CEO. Clinical programs would be like your nurse executive, right? They're going to oversee all the acute side of things from the nursing standpoint, which is a large job, a lot different than what you would see with an ambulatory side. So the inpatient floor and a lot of information on the perspective of how about all the nurses that work on rotation 24/7. Those are all reporting up to the clinical program chief nursing officer, and then also CNA, all the CNAs on the inpatient side. Chief of staff, or sometimes you hear it called chief medical officer, oversees all the providers. So those providers, whatever disciplines there are at the hospital, would report up through the chief of staff, who then reports to the CEO. And then finally, development integration. Sometimes you see this. It's like strategic thinking. Um, Usually you have someone that's really strategic minded in this role that can help, move the chain in regards to getting things done within the facility. Sometimes you might see plant operations on here, but there's a lot of different things that you might see. Now this is a complex org chart. However, this is not always standard. You're going to see a lot of different stuff. So this is just one example of how a healthcare organization can be, formed to make sure it runs properly. You might be asking yourself, where is legal in this situation? And in this structure, legal is under HR. So labor relations would be considered legal, and there might even be a, I don't see it in here, but actually plant operations is under HR too, which is kind of strange. You usually see that under its own place or under nursing at times. And sometimes actually it can be under finance. It just depends on where your strong leaders are. From a labor relations standpoint, you're usually going to have an attorney that works in here, depending on how large the organization is. So keep that in mind. It can report up through HR, but sometimes chief legal can have its own box over here. So chief legal officer with its own team. It just depends on how much priority your organization puts into that. So this is the organizational structure. Really quick lecture. I thought it would be helpful. It's part of the additional lectures that we're doing for this semester. Hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, of course, don't hesitate to reach out. Make sure you watch the other lecture as well. I'm looking forward to reading your discussion post and moving forward with this semester and the rest of this week. Thanks so much.